Quranic Miracle, The Eastern Journey of Alexander the Great. Part 2. His eastward journey to Media and Persia. Alexander is among the handful of people who have influenced history, which is why he continues to captivate historians and great minds. Our treatise here is to look at the Quranic addition to this contentious topic. Verily, this Qur'an doth explain to the children of Israel most of the matters in which they disagree. Qur'an 27 verse 76. As a matter of principle, the Qur'an discusses only important events and landmarks, leaving unnecessary details to orally transmitted tradition for scholars to filter the grains from the chaff. The people of the book have a lot of discrepancies in their written record that needs a prophet with true revelation to straighten. After consolidating power in Egypt, in the year 331 BC, Alexander the Great left Siwa Oasis on his very long journey to the east, Media and Persia. So, we are going to follow Alexander on his next journey from the Siwa Oasis in Egypt until when he starts another journey in a different direction away from the east. That would be the third leg of our journey with him. His journey towards the east is mainly to subdue the Achaemenid dynasty and capture Darius III, the king of Media and Persia. Already his mother, wife, and two daughters were in captivity from the Battle of Issus in 333 BC on his way to Egypt through the Levant. Allah said, "Then followed he another way." Quran chapter 18 verse 89. Leaving Siwa Oasis in 331 BC, he took his way east back to Memphis. He left Egypt to the Levant. He went on to Gaza, then followed up to Damascus. On leaving the Levant, Alexander marched eastward into Achaemenid Assyria in Upper Mesopotamia, now northern Iraq, first to Thapsacus, which is Basra today, then to Nisibi, is the ancient name of the modern city of Nuzibin, in southeastern Turkey, on the border with the Syrian city of Qamishli. Then to Gorgamla, where the final battle that broke the Achaemenid dynasty took place. The Battle of Gorgamla, also known as the Battle of Arbela, was on 1 October 331 BC, near today's city of Mosul in Iraq. Although in heavy numerical inferiority, Alexander came out victorious due to his superior tactics and a better trained army. It was a decisive victory that led to the fall of the Achaemenid Empire, which stretched from the Adriatic Sea to the Beas River in its entirety. Darius III was defeated and he fled the battle. Besides conquering Egypt, Alexander at this point became the conqueror of Media and Persia. Now, here comes the slight disparity between the Qur'an and the biblical visions of Daniel in the expression and use of language of the account their identity. The Qur'an, being a revelation, is precise and accurate. On the other hand, visions are always an appropriation, or approximation, and are blurred. Probably, this obscurity and lack of clarity in Daniel's vision prompted the Jews of Medina to ask for clarification from the prophet on the subject matter. Let us see Daniel's vision first. In Daniel 8, verses 4–22, we have the biblical prophecy of the event. Daniel said, "I saw the ram pushing westward, and northward, and southward, so that no beasts might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will, and became great." 8–4. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Notable horn between his eyes. 8–5. And he came to the ram that had two horns, which I had there seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. 8–6. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his two horns, and there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. 8–7. Therefore, the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. 8-8. The 2-horn ram is broken by a 2-horn he-goat with a 3rd notable horn between his eyes. The horns represent kingdoms, in the biblical vision as will be explained later, while the horns in the Qur'an are the account of what truly happened in the Oasis of Shiva. He was given the epithet of the 2-horned in Egypt with his image minted on silver currencies. The vision of Daniel was further thus explained in the verses. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called, and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. 8:16. The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia. 8:20. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. 8:21. Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. 8:22. From this vision, Darius III can be understood to be the 2-horned ram that will be broken by a he-goat with 1 horn in between his eyes, who is a king of Greece. The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia. 8:20. So the 2 horns of the ram represent the 2 kingdoms of Media and Persia. A he-goat have his 2 horns also. The great horn that is between his eyes does not negate that he has 2 horns also. He is the first king, meaning the first king of Greece to venture out of Greece with a powerful divine force to destroy the ram. Alexander, the Qur'an told us, was divinely guided. Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. Daniel 8:22. And some truth to Daniel's vision, Alexander's kingdom was divided. However, for more than 4 kingdoms by his generals after his death. The Diadochi fought over and broke up Alexander's empire into several kingdoms after his death, a legacy which reigned on and continued the influence of ancient Greek culture abroad for over 300 more years. The 5 kingdoms of the Diadochi were, 1. Kingdom of Ptolemy I Soter. 2. The Kingdom of Cassander. 3. The Kingdom of Lysimachus. 4. The Kingdom of Seleucus I Nicator. 5. The Kingdom of Epirus. Others are, 6. Carthage. 7. The Roman Republic. 8. The Greek states. This goes well to define that prophecies and visions can only be interpreted when they have come to pass. It will also be wrong to assume Cyrus the Great as zul-Qarnain. He did not venture into Egypt and was alleged to have died in battle, fighting the Massagetae along the Seir Darya in December 530 BC. After the defeat of Darius III, Alexander chased him as far as Arbela. Erbil is a Kurdish city in northern Iraq. Gorgamla was the final and decisive encounter between the two. Darius fled over the mountains to Ecbatana, modern Hamadan, while Alexander went to capture Opis. Alexander the Great would have passed Opis twice, the first in the direction of India, in 331 BC, the second in 324 BC, when he would return from India. From Opis, he moved to Babylon. Babylon is a city of ancient Mesopotamia, located on the Euphrates, whose ruins coincide today with the city of Al-Hilla, in the province of Babylon in Iraq, about 80 kilometers south of Baghdad. From Babylon, he continued his conquest to Susa. From Susa he fought his way to Persepolis. Persepolis was the ceremonial capital of the Achaemenid Empire ca. 550 to 330 BC. It is situated 60 kilometers northeast of the city of Shiraz in Fars province, Iran. And finally, he reached the farthest eastern town of Persia called Pasargadae. This whole area is a desolate mountainous area devoid of trees. Allah said, until he reached the place of the rising of the sun. He found it rising on a people for whom we had provided no shelter beneath it. Verse 90. This is the last destination of his eastern expedition. The place of the rising sun. This place corresponds very close in latitude to the place of the sun setting in Siwa Oasis with coordinates 29 degrees 12 minutes north, 25 degrees 31 minutes east. Pasargadae with coordinates 30 degrees 12 minutes north, 53 degrees 10 minutes east, was the capital of the Achaemenid Empire constructed by Cyrus the Great 559 to 530 BCE. In around the 20th of March every year, the March equinox, which is also called the vernal or spring equinox, the moment at which the center of the visible sun is directly above the equator, the sun will rise and set over Pasargadae and Siwa Oasis on approximately the same latitude, making the two places the places of sunrise and sunset respectively to an onlooker on Earth. The two poles of outermost civilizations known. These are exactly the extent of Alexander's western and eastern journeys. The only landmark is a limestone tomb there believed to be that of Cyrus the Great. The place, despite being the capital city of an empire, is desolate, devoid of high structures and trees. Even the palace pillars are peculiarly and strangely all short. The whole area is devoid of houses for the population that has stirred archaeologists to question how and why. Supposedly, they must have been settled in movable housing materials like tents that cannot stand the test of time. This brings to forehead the meaning of the verse, for whom we had provided no shelter beneath it. When the sun rises, there are no concrete structures in terms of building roofings or trees that can shield them from the scorching sun. So like that. And we have indeed encircled what is with him of news. Verse 91. Allah has said the truth. Next, we look at the next expedition in Part 3, Allah's willing.